food co-ops. They're not consumers co-ops, and all these meetings are about how to allocate the task of reappropriating the logistics of provisioning, which means suppose this was a gas meeting, each of us would have the task of collecting orders from one provider and buying stuff for everyone else from that provider. That's why you need a reliable income, because you pay up front. And then everyone will come and collect their oil, oranges, apple, flour, chicken, and pay their dues. So that's why they're not a food co-op. They usually don't have even a physical place where to store all the stuff. Everyone deals with one item, and those who have more space will deal with oranges and potatoes. And those who don't have much space will deal with honey and tea. Because they can store less. But then they do go public. They organize public events such as this, which is basically a farmer's market, but it's a farmer's market by invitation only. So only gas providers are here at this market. And the whole idea is to support gas providers by offering them a public space where they can approach more customers. At the same time, it is not the market in the way that we have in mind, which is some kind of anonymous space where demand and offer meet each other and adjust spontaneously. There is nothing spontaneous about this. It's a highly controlled meeting, and it's a highly controlled space. And the whole point of control is that gasistas have a very high requirement in terms of quality of the food, but they are prepared to pay much more than whole dealers, precisely because they are cutting off all the so-called middlemen, right? It's the idea is to go for a direct link. And this is not just a kind of an economic investment on quality. You know, I'll pay you more and I'll have organic food for less than going to Whole Foods or something like that. They're called solidarity purchase groups, and every word counts. They are driven by solidarity. They purchase. That's what they do. They use their money to buy stuff, and that's the way they support their providers. And they're groups. They're not cooperatives. They're not even associations most of the time. They're just a group of people that get together. Just an example of solidarity. This is something that has taken the name of Orange Landings, and it's producers from Sicily who have pledged basically an anti-mafia statement that they will not pay the mafia racket and will not exploit migrant labor. They will organize themselves on a cooperative basis. In fact, this is a network of agricultural cooperatives. When you make that kind of statement, it's really difficult to access the large distribution, because the large distribution is at least partly, and that is proven, controlled by mafia-contaminated networks or dealers. And so the idea is to provide a direct link between consumers on one end and producers on the other. And these are the two ends. They're 1,000 miles apart, and you can see the size of Lombardy. It's about the same size of Sicily, but it has double the population and double the per capita income. So it is a direct north-south collaboration within the nation. So the whole point about networks of gas, and I think that's interesting to people like us here, is that this is a picture that I took of the National Assembly of gas groups, and this is a kind of network rendering that my colleague Francesca Forno has given of the kind of affiliations that would be represented in a meeting like this. So these are mostly people that already have an affiliation or some kind of commitment with a number of movements, organizations, institutions that vary wildly. Human rights NGOs, cultural associations, religious groups including missionary work, cooperatives, anti-mafia environmentalist and pacifist associations, people that work in the open access movement. people that work in ethical finance, alternative media, responsible tourism, fair trade. And it really looks like the same kind of coalitions or alliances we are talking about when we talk about the solidarity economy movement in the US. And the wealth that these people bring with them is experience in different kinds of groups and different kinds of organizational cultures that they bring together. So a lot of repertoires are contaminated in the positive sense that they are shared in occasions that are very similar to this one. I wanted to give more examples of what